This can be smooth.
We're live.
Better.
I think so. I think we're live. Hello to everyone joining us for a Quali live stream. We've got a Zoom call going on, so if you can see all three of us, brilliant. If you can't see all three of us, let us know, because we'll try and figure that out. But obviously, it's Mike, Stephen, Ash, three guys on the channel. We're here to talk about the Quali live stream and 1 year on the channel. So, yeah, it's incredible. What a qualifying session that was. Incredible.
Sam is here. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam. Welcome to the stream.
I'll give you the chat.
Oh, smart move. Hello, Katie. Hello, Liam. Hi, Mike. I have a very painful leg. Oh, that doesn't sound good, Liam, at all. Anyway, we'll try and add some kind of normality to this live stream. It's very kind of. So I'll give a run through of where everyone has qualified, 20th to 1. Obviously, if you have just watched it, you know Lewis Hamilton has claimed pole in a very wet qualifying session. And then what we'll do is we'll talk, me, Stephen, Ash, trying to get an opinions, try and look at your stuff in the chat as well, and go from there. But hey to a few people in chat. Hey JB, hey Nico's Pondering. Welcome for coming into the chat. That's great on that front. So let me get up the... there we go, the live things. Okay, so 20th was Roman Grosjean. After going out on his first lap, he ended up in the gravel and then never went out again. Poor Roman. Obviously, Sam's not going to be having a great time remembering that one. Giovinazzi finished in P19 and, while looking to improve his time in Q1, actually brought out a yellow flag and then a red flag, which meant that a driver that we predict will make it into Q2 finally made it into Q2. So that was great. But 18th was Latifi, 17th was the big shock in Sergio Perez. But in recent years, I don't think he's particularly been good in the rain, so that maybe wasn't too much a surprise in the wet qualifying. And then the other Alpha of Kimi Raikkonen went out in P16. Kevin Magnussen went out in P15. Daniel Kvyat 14th, Lance Stroll 13th, out qualifying his teammate Sergio Perez for the first time. He traditionally does quite well in the wet, so pretty impressive qualifying from Stroll, but Racing Point I think will be very disappointed today with that. George Russell, probably the performance of qualifying for me, P12 in the Williams, first time he's ever made it into Q2, and he was only 0.09 of a second off making it into Q3, which would have been sensational. P11 was another Ferrari. It was the other Ferrari this week. Charles Leclerc went out in Q2 this time. Sebastian Vettel, obviously, last week was out in Q2. And Sebastian Vettel was P10. So both Ferraris starting P10 and P11. Not a great return for Ferraris. They were hoping a bit of rain to kind of even everything up, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
But Daniel Ricciardo P9, Pierre Gasly P8, Alex Albon P7, Lando Norris P6, Esteban Ocon P5, Valtteri Bottas P4, Carlos Sainz P3.
Sainz,
That is impressive. Yeah, very impressive. Max Verstappen P2, binned it on his last lap but managed to stop it kind of going into it, and Lewis Hamilton on pole position, proving why if he's one of the best of all time, especially in the wet. Incredible qualifying performance from him. But I'm going to throw it over to Ash first up. What were your thoughts from that wet and crazy qualifying?
The main thing that I took from it is we've now actually got a stage where George Russell has been able to show his ability in terms of being able to perform at a level we know he can get to. The Williams hasn't been there for him, really. We know that. But he was definitely qualifier of the day. Yes, Hamilton was amazing to be able to improve by that much consistently through Q3. But, yeah, in a Williams, being able to get to 12th was a brilliant performance. Carlos Sainz as well, showing that the McLaren actually has pace in qualifying as well to be able to get them up there. Starting that high, definitely keeping as open mind for him as a podium tomorrow. And once again, the Ferraris, yeah, they've just gone, haven't they? They're not being able to show any pace really. And I think 10th and 11th for them is actually quite lucky based on the performances that they had.
Yeah, absolutely. The Ferraris, I mean, obviously we're both wearing Ferrari tops on this one. And yeah, Ferrari, it just looks like that engine underpowered. It really isn't looking great. I'm seeing a few things in chat with JB being gutted about Perez being his turbo driver. But it could be a good race tomorrow. So don't worry about that in terms of fantasy. It can turn around because it's meant to be a dry race, and in the dry, that racing point still looks mega. Another day where Sainz has to be looking at his Ferrari move and second guessing himself from Matthew Rivera. I think that's definitely coming into the equation. Daniel Ricciardo's licking his lips being in that McLaren for next season. But what did you make of qualifying, Stephen?
The racing points were a big shock. Lacking that pace in the rain, with Perez going out in Q1 and then Stroll in Q2. We were thinking of them being the third fastest team out there, but clearly struggling in the rain. I think they were a big shock. And yet again, Lewis looks untouchable in the rain. No one really came close to him, especially in that last lap.
Deanne Troy talking about Ferrari. There's a lot of, I know Liam Talks F1 is a big Ferrari fan and keeps kind of coming into our live streams and being like, oh no, it's so bad for Ferrari, I'm so sad. Which you got to feel for it. But yeah, Deanne Troy saying Ferrari power cars all struggling. Ricardo coming out best of all the 2021 moves, clearly. I think that's probably a fair shout at the moment. It looks like that the McLaren with the Mercedes engine, you got a back to be doing very well as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
But we all know fitting an engine into a car can actually be quite a difficult thing to do because Honda are better with Red Bull, but we know how terrible Honda were with McLaren. So it may not be a perfect partnership, but it looks like it might be good. JB, Latifi did decent as well considering first quali, P18 I think. What are your thoughts on that, Ash?
Well, if you think about it, last year George Russell and Kubica consistently were 19th and 20th in qualifying. In all honesty, though, he was still quite a way off of the pace of George Russell. Give him his dues. Yes, it was first qualifying in the wet in Formula One, but the pace still isn't there as a teammate. So for Williams to be able to get the improvements that they're wanting, they need someone that's going to be able to push George Russell, and I still don't think Latifi is the person for that.
No, probably a fair point, but he brings in money, which his dad definitely helps keep that team afloat, and it is only his second race. He's had one of the hardest kind of starts to an F1 career, and he got the car round and he finished P11 last time out, where he wasn't really necessarily on the pace or anything, but he certainly was. He's doing a job. I think is the best we can say. I think it's far too early to judge Nicholas Latifi. But Matthew Rivera was saying shame about Norris grid penalty. He's been doing really well. What do you make of that, Stephen?
Yeah, where did he qualify in the end?
I think he was P9.
It was
P6 actually. So he drops down
penalty.
to P9 on the grid.
It's not a disaster, to be honest. He's still ahead of both the Ferraris. And obviously he hasn't got the racing points around him, so he should have a decent start of the race, like we saw last year. He had a very strong start.
Last week.
Well, yeah.
Last week he had a strong start. He was fighting Max Verstappen at the top as well, wasn't he?
Last week and last year.
Yeah. Fergus with, because you hit 1k, can Mike shave his hair off in celebration? Simple answer to that one, no. But I honestly didn't expect McLaren to be this good after pre-season. I expected Racing Point to be a dominant best of the rest, so considering McLaren is right with them, has been a surprise this season. I think with the wet performance today, it'd be interesting to hear what both you and Stephen think, Ash. But I think McLaren have a much better understanding of their car overall, and obviously it's been kind of judged the tracing point by Racing Point. So I know they get rather annoyed when people call it that, but yeah, I think they don't have a very good understanding of that car and how it performs. McLaren have a very good understanding how that car performs, and both drivers are very comfortable with how that is. So, yeah, what do you make of that, Ash?
You've hit the nail on the head with that. McLaren have had a gradual improvement in their performance over last season and into this year. So it has meant that they've been able to establish where the car is performing well, the limitations that they have, and they also do have the better driver pairing. That is something that needs to be taken into account. With Racing Point, if you have a look at the car, it's been all over the internet. It is the pink Mercedes. They've pretty much copied the Merc of last year, and they just haven't got the understanding of how that car performs. Give them a few races. I reckon second Silverstone race, they'll have a better idea of where the car is actually at, how to set it up, and I think the performances will start to be a lot more consistent, and they'll be nearer the front in terms of qualifying. In the race, I still think they have that race pace, and if you look at last week, Perez was battling right up to the end, so don't rule them out. I think they'll make up good places, and even if they don't have that strong understanding yet, I feel as if that Racing Point is ahead of the Ferraris, so they'll be able to make up places there, definitely.
Absolutely. It looks a quicker car in the dry, that's for sure. Perez, for me, was mucked up by strategy last week and was comfortably quicker from the McLarens as well. If they'd pitted him at the right time, I think he comfortably would have been on the podium last week. It was a rare kind of time that Perez didn't get a podium in his career. But welcome Josh Revel in the chat, and he said thoughts on Stroll out-qualifying Perez. So I throw that one to you, Stephen.
Oh,
yeah, Lance Stroll, future World Drivers' Champion, as Josh put it there.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I don't know what happened to Checo. He's not the best in the wet. I'm not sure how good his last lap was before he got red flagged. I think he was doing PBs. But still, he just didn't look like he had the pace in the wet, especially compared to Stroll, who, although struggled in Q2 himself, comfortably got to Q2, unlike Perez. Yeah, Stroll looked good.
I think well, Perez, obviously one of his first great performances and his first podium was in Malaysia 2012, where he was chasing down Fernando Alonso in the wet. But yeah, recently Sergio Perez just seems less comfortable in the rain. Obviously Germany 2019, he was the first kind of retiree in that race. But yeah, Josh was mentioning Monza 2017. When there's a little bit of chaos, Lance Stroll seems to stay out of trouble and kind of find a way of performing. But I think probably two guys we talk about be interesting to see in chat as well. But Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly had brilliant qualifying sessions, didn't they? Let me get up where they finished there. So Gasly was 8th and Ocon was 5th. But, you know, at both times they were kind of they might even get P3.
Yeah, Gasly in particular, I think, putting a very good lap towards the end. But yeah, Ocon out-qualifying Ricciardo. Last week he looked well off the pace compared to his teammate, well, when Ricciardo was on track. But yeah, very good from Ocon.
What are your thoughts on Ocon and Gasly's performance, Ash?
I think Ocon is showing that he's still a bit of a raw talent. He has had hit and miss times. Obviously, in the rain, he has shown that he has that ability to keep the car under control. Gasly, he's just succeeding being back in the AlphaTauri. Last year, Red Bull was not the right move for him. We all knew that, and we knew that the driving style he has suits the car he's in now. So he just needs to settle himself down there, keep performing as he is, and he will potentially get a move to a team that he's going to be fighting nearer the front more often. It's just he's got to find one that suits his driving style. Like Albon has shown Red Bull is for him. I don't think Gasly has that ability to go into a Red Bull at the moment, especially with it being a Max Verstappen built car.
Yeah, I think Pierre Gasly is the prime example of finding a car that suits you, or a team that kind of suits you, is so key to kind of getting a maximal performance out of it. Because obviously, you know, like you said, that first half of 2019 was awful for Pierre Gasly, but his performances have been inconsistent in the Toro Rosso, but generally as a whole have been really good. And you know, that back end of 2019 with the podium in Brazil, superb. And he's, you know, the P7 last week with the brake issues was a very good performance again, and he looks set up that he's probably going to be having another good race. I think there's some fantasy chat for you, Stephen, in the chat. There's Ton Kato Truck, I think, or Katoy Truck, or Tonka Toy Truck. That makes sense. Gee, sorry, got that wrong. But anyway, we're talking about feeling bad about or feeling confident in Racing Point still in the race for fantasy, because it's going to be a dry race, and that Racing Point, like we said, looks really good in dry. So I think for overtaking points, they probably look really good.
The struggle is getting like good points in the top 10, because that's where you get a lot of fantasy points from. Because obviously everyone's going to be starting on fresh set of tyres, so they're not going to have an advantage further down the grid. But yeah, hopefully lots of overtaking points will make up for the poor qualifying.
Yeah, most of the big points in fantasy are scored on the Sunday and on race day, so definitely don't feel too gutted about not doing too well in qualifying, because it really is the race where you can have big loss and big win on points. Going with Mercedes with you, Ash. Obviously, Valtteri Bottas qualified in P4. Austria is one of his strong tracks over Lewis Hamilton. It is going to be dry tomorrow, but with Lewis starting on pole position, do you see any chance of Valtteri Bottas, unless Lewis gets a mechanical failure, of winning the race tomorrow?
Honestly, I don't think Bottas will get close to Hamilton tomorrow without a failure. It's one of those where Hamilton didn't have a great weekend last week, and he's one of those drivers that does always bounce back. We saw that today with pole position. Yes, it's in the wet, and in all honesty, when it was raining that much, there was only really two drivers that were going to be competing for pole. But you never know. It takes a little thing like a driver going off in front of Hamilton when he's lapping someone, anything like that, and the whole race can change. We could have safety cars again. So you can't really predict. Personally, I think it's going to be a two-horse race. You're going to have Hamilton and Verstappen getting very far ahead of the rest, and it'll just be those two. I think we may end up with a similar situation to Hungary last year.
I think that's probably a fair shout, and also I think tyre choice is going to be very interesting tomorrow. Obviously, with a wet qualifying, all the drivers on the grid have freedom of choice over tyres. Last week we saw Max Verstappen qualify on the medium and the two Mercedes on the softs, and we never really got to see how that strategy would have worked out, because Max had his retirement so early on in the race. But Stephen, do you think we could see the top teams on the medium? I imagine both Ferraris will start on the medium.
Yeah, I'm sure they're probably going to go long and then finish on the quickest set of tyres, because you never know. As we saw last week, about 3 safety cars, Austria prone to a safety car, so you want to go longer on that first stint in case there's an early one, so you don't get caught out. But yeah, I do think it will be that 2-horse race between Max and Lewis, whilst there's obviously going to have to try and get past signs early doors, which may bog him down enough to put him out the race.
Well, I think traditionally, looking at the races, the McLarens, especially even the back end of last year, and it looked the same this year, that the McLarens are very good from the start. So Bottas is really going to struggle. He may not even get past Carlos Sainz until DRS kicks in, which, you know, those couple of laps really could kind of allow Lewis to build a gap and make it a struggle. But there was a question here from, well, a statement here from Matthew Rivera. Ash, Albon has spun a lot in the Red Bull. Gasly had a number of issues in the Red Bull at the start. The difference was Albon's making moves that Gasly didn't even try, and I suppose last week was the prime example of that, because although it didn't work out, Albon does look very aggressive in his overtaking moves.
Yeah, I think that's one of the advantages to having Albon in the Red Bull over Gasly, is the fact that he is going for moves that wouldn't necessarily have been tried last year. I don't think that's the only thing he's adding to the team, though. In terms of his one-lap pace and race performance itself, he is a lot closer in terms of times to Max Verstappen than Gasly ever was. There were times in qualifying today where Albon was getting within a couple of tenths of Verstappen, even though he was saying that he didn't feel the setup was strong enough for him. So it's one of those where you've got a driver that is able to give support in terms of those lesser positions for points. And Red Bull as a team, I think, are more interested in a Constructors' World Championship than the drivers at this moment in time. They want to get back to where they were in 2010 to 2013-ish, that sort of period where they were really dominating the constructors side of things.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we've covered mostly everyone on that basis. I think it's probably not worth mentioning the Haas and the Alfa Romeos because their pace just looks so poor still. I think, you know, I saw one comment from Josh in the chat going, "The Italian Jesus spun off late. It's a shame that he went." In typical Josh fashion. But yeah, no, it was a shame because Gio didn't actually look too bad, and he probably looked like he would out-qualify Kimi again because he was doing PBs up until that point, but pushed the limits on the track and went for a spin.
But equally, Kimi was doing PBs as well until the session got red flagged.
Well,
so.
you'd probably expect Kimi to be better in these conditions than Giovinazzi anyway. But yeah, it just looks, if you've got a Ferrari power unit this year, you might as well look ahead to 2021. Fair shout.
Will he even be competitive next year?
God, I don't know because they're limited. Is it an engine? They're only allowed to upgrade it once this season, and I'm pretty sure then it's a freeze to the 2021 season.
Yeah, the Ferrari engine is lacking, and in all honesty, they've got a lot of work to be doing to even get close. So they're going to need some big step-ups in terms of aero performance from the teams that are running a Ferrari engine to be able to challenge. But we never know. Look at last season. Admittedly, there's still questions about the Ferrari engine at the end of the year, but they did make that step up, so it's possible.
Yeah, it is possible, but it looks very unlikely at the moment. But if there was one team on the grid that has a stupid amount of resources to kind of pump into a bottomless pit of trying to sort out a problem, it's probably Ferrari. So if anyone's going to fix it, they're probably the best financially guys to figure that out and go from there. But looking ahead to tomorrow's race, what are we feeling? I think it's probably going to end in some combination of both Mercedes and Max Verstappen on the podium? I'll go with you, Stephen, first.
I gotta say Lewis wins, Max second, and then I think Bottas crashes out. I reckon Sainz gets third.
Bold.
Yep.
Starts P3, finishes P3. Worked well for McLaren last week, didn't it?
Exactly. Job done.
Ash.
Well, the win's obvious. I'm going Hamilton to win, Verstappen second, and I've just got a feeling Lando Norris again. I just think the McLarens will start on the soft tyres, knowing that the top teams will potentially go for the mediums, and they'll get a better start because of tyre heat up, really. But Lando Norris, go for it again. Give him a good start for the season.
2 podiums in a row.
Look
I'm
at
feeling
that.
good about McLaren.
Yeah, both of you are kind of backing McLaren here. That's very positive on here. JB is with me in terms of it's a combination of 2 Mercedes and a Red Bull, going with Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. I think that's probably the most likely. It potentially is Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen. I don't know. It looked like in practice that the gearbox issue wasn't necessarily an issue for the Mercedes anymore, but I guess we're not going to see until that comes into a race situation. But we had an amazing race last week. Plenty of kind of retirements from the cars not quite dealing with Austria. Ash, do you think we're going to have a similar sort of situation tomorrow?
No, I've got a feeling tomorrow is not going to be living up to the expectations of last week. We're still going to have some good battles. I just feel as if they're going to be further between them. We'll have an occasional battle, and then teams will decide that they need to be dropping off just to secure the cars, make sure they finish, especially after losing so many drivers last week.
Yeah, especially Red Bull. They're desperate for points.
Yeah.
I think Red Bull will definitely play it safe. Well, actually, can any team afford to play it safe at the moment? Red Bull, this is one of their stronger tracks, so if they've got a sniff of a chance of Max getting the win, do they go all out? I think they probably do.
If they go all out with Max, are they going to be more conservative with Albon to be able to secure points?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for the constructors, they'll go conservative with Albon, and they'll just let Max and go, can we get a win off Hamilton for the drivers?
Turn 1. Max dives on the inside. Takes them both out. Lando Norris comes through for the win.
Matthew Rivera was, as a Max fan, I get worried that we'll go. I'm just completely oblivious to that one.
I just called Lando Norris a race winner, and you're going on to our next comment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just breeze over that. There's nothing unusual about that.
I just realised there's only 10 minutes left of.
Oh, we got 10 minutes left on here. Well, okay. So we've rounded off with podiums on the race, but also today we're celebrating 1 year of the channel, of F1 Fanatics. Obviously, it started a year ago today with me and Ash releasing the British Grand Prix preview of last year. Do you have any questions from the channel? Do you have, it can be like a mini Q&A or any kind of stuff on that front? For me or Stephen or Ash or anything, or you might not be interested in at all and be like, stop milking it.
It's 1K subs, now it's 1 year anniversary.
What else can we go on? It's the first live stream with the 3 of us on. Yeah, it's exciting. All the
first
ones.
time we've had back races at the same track.
You see, look, now we go. Look, there you go. Look, we've got people leaving concurrently. That's enough spoken on that front. They're like, oh god, they've stopped talking about qualifying. We'll leave it now. But that was a crazy qualifying. It looks like in the chat that everyone's just kind of looking ahead to the race tomorrow. and I think Matthew is very keen for the Lando for the win for you. But yeah, guys, that's probably it. Rounding up us from here. Oh no, we've got a JB question. What made you guys decide to do a YouTube channel on F1? Me and Ashley were talking about F1 all the time. Decided, should we do a YouTube channel? Well, I think I asked Ash, and he said, yeah, sure. And then we released a video. And then we're here. Whether you like it or not, we're here.
If I remember rightly, Mike, didn't we have like the discussion on the Sunday, and then I had like a job interview on the Monday or the Tuesday, and then we did it the day after. It was like a really quick thing. We had the discussion and then we sort of did it straight away.
Yeah, we didn't plan it. That's definitely for sure. There's if you watch our videos, you'll know that not much is planned. Especially
1 year later, still nothing planned.
Plans are boring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just go with the flow. See what happens on these kind of live streams and stuff like that. Tonka Toy Truck. What is the predicted weather for the race? From what I saw, it was dry, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it was raining in the morning and then dry that afternoon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it is on there. But I think that's it from us today. So I hope you've enjoyed having the three of us on stream. We'll try and get this on as a more regular event. If you've got any feedback on terms of everything there. Exactly. If you like my friends and you'd be having this convo regardless, may as well do it on camera. That is exactly what it happened to Matthew Rover. JB's considering doing a channel. You have the confidence, commitment, just go for it. You can be anyone. You just speak. I think on that front. But yes, people will listen. If you do dedication or anything like that, I think you build up a community. But Ash, thanks for coming on. What was your highlight of qualifying? I have a very good feeling of what this might be, but what was it?
Highlight of qualifying will be George Russell into Q2. I predicted it as one of my bold predictions every single race of last year, I believe, and it's finally happened. So there we go. We'll stick with it.
Bold prediction that finally happened.
Perfect. Don't worry, Ash. In your absence on the race previews, I have been getting George Russell into Q2, and it's finally come true. So that now can't be a bold prediction. So we've got to get back on the drawing board on that one. But Stephen, your favourite moment from qualifying?
It's tough.
Max billing it at the end.
Had to bring that up, didn't he? Lewis looking so good in the rain again was pretty impressive. Like no one was touching that pole apart from Lewis. So, yeah.
Like Max was driving the car on the absolute limit and thought without that mistake at the end, he might have been quick enough for pole.
I think he was still like 5 tenths off.
But then Lewis was cruising.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how good Lewis Hamilton is in the wet, and it's always a great one to see. I think my highlight was probably seeing Gasly and Ocon do so well. That was that's always nice to kind of see the young guns. I think someone was saying, I think it was Joe from the F1 Club was saying that it's nice to see the young guns doing so well. Obviously George Russell performed well. Russell, Ocon going out. Well, Max in his own right is a young gun still technically. I suppose Charles Leclerc didn't do too great, but but Lando Norris was positive up to an extent. What did he qualify? P6. So yeah, it was very impressive from those guys. So that's what's going to be from my front. But that's it from us. We hope you've enjoyed the Quali live stream. We're obviously going to be back tomorrow for the race live stream. Hopefully it is as good a race as what we had yesterday. Last week. I wish it was yesterday. It feels like yesterday. Oh no. It can never go smoothly, these things, and especially when it's live.
Yeah.
It's terrible that. But anyway, bye from Ash.
See you later, guys.
Bye from Stephen.
Goodbye.
Bye from me. And for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.